Dear friend, so in the last 10 modules of this BAB industry, we have seen how the BAB industry works, what are the scopes and opportunities, and what kind of professional or expertise required along with the qualifications, and then basics of the pharmacokinetics involved in the bioequivalence industry, and then the flow of events. Then we have seen in the detail the how the clinical phase of the study happens, then the bioanalytical phase of the study, then the pharmacokinetic statistical phase of the study, then the report phase of the study. So all these informations are, we think it is really useful to you and for the understanding of the bioequivalence and bioavailability study, the process, entire process. Now we are going to see the couple of modules which is involving regulatory and ethical requirements for the BAB studies with respect to the Indian scenario. And one more common module which is very important for the BAB study, which is the quality management system. So these two models are going to give you the knowledge and information about the regulatory and ethical requirements with respect to the India and the quality management systems. So we'll see first the regulatory and ethical requirements in this particular module. As usual, before going to the ethical and regulatory considerations, we'll see some of the definitions provided in the Clinical Trial Rules 2019 published by Drugs and Cosmetics Act in India. A bioequivalent study means a study to establish the absence of a statistical significant difference in the rate and extent of absorption of an active ingredient from a pharmaceutical formulation in comparison to the reference formulation having the same ingredient when administered in the same molar dose under similar conditions. So this is how it is defined in clinical trial rules. Then what is a bioavailability study? A study to assess the rate and extent of at which the drug is absorbed from a pharmaceutical formulation and become available in the systemic circulation or availability of the drug at the site of action. So this is how it is defined in the clinical trial rules. The rules also define the BAB center. So the Bioavailability Bioequivalence Study Center means a center created or established to undertake bioavailability study or bioequivalence study of a drug for either clinical part or for both clinical and analytical part of the study. So these are the two critical activities. The center which carries out both activities or either one activity called as BAB center. Then what is a central licensing authority? That means the Drug Controller General of the India or the Drug Controller in India. Then what do you mean by ethics committee? For the purpose of clinical trial, ethics committee constituted under Rule 7 and registered under Rule 8. So the Rule 7 and 8, how the ethics committee has to be constituted and how it has to be registered is clearly explained in the Rule 8. And the ethics committee constituted under Rule 16 will be the biomedical and health research, which is used for the academic research. So for the BAB, the ethics committee will be constituted under Rule 7 and under Rule 8 of the Drug Clinical Trial Rules of 2019. So in India, bioavailability and bioequivalent centers are approved by CDSO before it starting the operations. So these bioequivalent centers are inspected and approved by CDSO. For this, the BE center or the CRO will apply for the facility approval through the online portal which is provided by the CDSO, and we have to pay the prescribed fee for the facility approval with all relevant documentation like facility drawing, SOPs, the purpose of CRO, all those information will be provided along with all the statutory certificates. Then the CDSO officials will assign some inspectors who comes to the facility and they do the inspection. They give the inspection report. If any queries are there, that will be responded by the CRO. Then finally the CRO gets approval in 3 to 6 months time. Then the BE center can start the operations of the BA studies. Then there will be two different type of CRO which is already explained in the definitions, like there will be a standalone bioanalytical or standalone clinical centers also, which has to apply for the CDSO approval with the appropriate documentation. Now, since we are in India, it is very important to understand how the CDSO or the Drugs and Cosmetics Act clinical trial rules classifies the new drugs and the old drugs. So what is new drug as per the rule? A drug including active pharmaceutical ingredient or phytopharmaceutical drug which has not been used in the country to any significant extent, except in accordance with the provisions of the Act and the rules made thereunder as per conditions specified in the labeling thereof, and has not been approved as safe and efficacious by the Central Licensing Authority with respect to its claims. So that means the drug has not been significantly used in India. Simply, you can say that. Or a drug approved by the Central Licensing Authority for certain claims and proposed to be marketed with modified or new claims, including indication, route of administration, dosage and dosage form, etc. This is what it is says, that we have a approved drug, but we are going to change the indication. For example, it is used for reducing the fever. Now we are going to use for some other purpose like hypertension or some other diabetes, something like that. So then it will be considered as a new drug. Any new indication it will be used, or new kind of dosage forms, or route of administration. You are changing to oral to in the injection or something like that. All these will be classified into new drugs. Then the new drug also covers a fixed dose combination of two or more drugs which have the different claims. So that is also called as new drug. Then the modified and sustained release dosage form of the drug also comes under the new drug classification. Then any vaccine, a generic vaccine or a new vaccine, then biological products which is coming out of the biological origin, like monoclonal antibodies, stem cells, also considered as a new drug. Under this classification of the new drugs, whatever comes for which we need to take the no objection certificate from the CDSCO. So that is called the BNOC for the bioequivalence study. So that BNOC will be applied by the CRO on behalf of sponsor, or sponsor also can apply directly through the Sugam portal, and the several formats or forms will be used for the application, like form CT16 or form 11, or for this BENOC the forms like CT04 or 05 will be used for the BENOC application. This form 11 and form CT16 will be used for the import license application along with the BENOC application, if at all the product will be imported from the foreign country. So before starting off any studies for the new drug, according to the definition provided by the CDSCO, you have to apply for the BNOC. So far, we have seen briefly about the regulatory requirements for the facility as well as the particular study. Now, for the study, the role of ethics committee we are going to see. Why we need a ethics committee? So the requirement of ethics committee is defined in such that whosoever intends to conduct clinical trial or biology study or bioequivalence study shall be required to have approval of an ethics committee for clinical trial registered under rule. So before we conduct the study, we need to get the ethics committee approval, which is constituted as per the clinical trial rule for the BAB study. So the ethics committee will get all the documents from the CRO, and they will review the documents during a meeting, and then any clarification is required that will be provided, and then the ethics committee will approve the protocol for the study. Then it will be submitted if required BNOC to the CDSCO. So the ethics committees can apply for registration to the Central Licensing Authority, that is nothing but drug controller, under Rule 8. How this ethics committee is constituted as per the rule. So the ethics committee constituted will have at least 7 members from medical, non-medical, scientific and non-scientific background. So it includes non-scientific areas like a lay person who doesn't have any knowledge about these scientific things, and one woman member, and one legal expert, and one independent member from any other related field such as social scientist, representative of non-governmental or voluntary agency, or a philosopher, ethicist, or theologian. So these are the 4 members are from non-medical science, non-medical background, who has to be part of the ethics committee apart from the 3 minimum medical background members. So these committees constituted will be registered under CDSCO, and the validity of the registration will be 5 years. So this particular slide explaining how the ethics committee function, what is the minimum quorum required, so all those information. So no clinical trial or biology or bioequivalence protocol and related documents shall be reviewed by an ethics committee unless at least 5 of its members as detailed below are present. 5 of the member will be the minimum quorum required for the ethics committee, And that five also, these members like medical scientists, preferably a pharmacologist, then a clinician, then a legal expert, and a social scientist. So these are the people must be present. That is the medical scientist or a clinician, legal expert, social scientist, the lay person, and the philosopher or ethicist. So these are the peoples will be present in the ethics committee quorum, minimum required for the review of the approval of the protocol. The ethics committee will maintain all the records, all the registers related to the entire process what they carry out, and the records will be maintained for specific study at least 5 years after completion of the study. This is what mentioned in the rule. And come to the ethics committee role in the bioequivalence and bioequity study. Important role will be review and approve the study protocol. That is number one. Then they oversee the conduct of the clinical trial to safeguard the rights, safety, and well-being of the trial subjects in accordance with the rules. So they can go and monitor during the study the volunteers. They can check with the volunteers whether their rights and safety is properly managed by the CRO or not. So all these things they can do, they have to do. And ongoing review of the clinical trials, which has accorded approval, and such review may be based on periodic study progress reports furnished by the investigators, and monitoring and internal audit report furnished by the sponsor or by visiting the study sites. So this is what I already covered in the second point. So at appropriate interval, they can go and see, or the reports provided by the investigators or the sponsor can be reviewed by the ethics committee members. So the role of the ethics committee also include they have to indicate the reason for rejecting a protocol or clarifying a protocol. So all those reasons, whatever they mentioned for the rejection or revision, that has to be made available to the central licensing authority. And also, when there is a serious adverse event occurs during a trial or during a BAB study, the ethics committee will analyze all the relevant documents pertaining to such event and forward a report to the central licensing authority, that is nothing but CDSU. So the role also continues for the ethics committee, which includes the when a trial they feel that the CRO or the trial is being conducted, it is compromising the right and safety and well-being of the subjects, then they can intimate the CRO or intimate the head of the institution to suspend the trial, and they can inform the same thing to the central licensing authority. So they have the authority to suspend or cancel the trial, and also they has to allow the central licensing authority officials to inspect or to audit the entire records, entire premises of study where it is carried out without any prior notice. So that is also they can permit these officers for the inspection and review of the documents when it is done to safeguard the rights and safety and well-being of the trial subjects. So in this module, we have seen the ethical committee requirements and regulatory, that is nothing but the CDSU requirements for a BAB studies. And what is the role of the ethics committee? What is the role of the CDSU to conduct a BAB study, especially when it comes to the safety and well-being of the study subjects. So now in the next module, we are going to see the quality management systems required for the BAB study. Thank you.